Hey everybody, welcome back to I Dream of Indie. Ole Gamer Joe here with another review for you today. We are looking at Max and the Book of Chaos, releasing onto Steam PC, Xbox One, PS4, and Nintendo Switch as of July 24th, 2020. This comes from developer Orange Games Entertainment and was published by Jandusoft. This is an action arcade shooter that will be priced at $7.99 here in North America. The story of Max and the Book of Chaos, as you may have already figured out, is about a book, an evil book that can unleash hell. Unfortunately for Max, this book does end up in the wrong hands. This leads to a demon invasion, and it's up to Max to stop these evil forces in order to save the world from certain doom. A lot of the story is presented to you through comic book cutscenes, and they look pretty nice, but unfortunately the translation more often than not misses the mark in this game. This is honestly one of the worst translations I've come across in quite a while, but thankfully the story is anything but complex, so you won't have too much trouble figuring things out. The game is broken up into 6 different worlds, which consist of 6 different levels and a boss character for you to deal with. Each of these worlds does present its own theme, but once you're in that world, the backdrop never really changes outside of some different enemy patterns and of course the boss that shows up at the end. Gameplay takes place entirely on a 2D plane and has you trying to blast away at enemies before they either touch the ground creating an earthquake or they just cause damage directly to your character. This is a pretty simple game for anyone to get into. All you have to worry about is running around the screen, jumping, and you also have a quick dash which can help you to dodge out of the way of certain attacks. Other than that, you're just blasting away using either the R2 button or the square button. Enemies will appear in waves, and there's a timer at the bottom of your screen which you'll have to be aware of. Once that timer hits 0, you have survived that level and you're able to proceed to the next. Outside of just trying to survive these areas, there are cages hanging above you which have people inside of them, and you can shoot these cages down for bonus points as well as to get the 3-star ranking at the end of every level. These cages don't just go down in one shot, however. You'll have to strategically dodge around your enemies and pick and choose your battles. Sometimes you might not even be able to bring all 3 cages down and survive at the same time. To help even the odds, however, you do get some power-ups along the way. You can also create a chain combo attack by hitting an enemy consecutively, and this will unleash a pretty powerful beam that will last for a while, wiping out a lot of the enemies that you're dealing with. Some of these power-ups include bombs, which will clear the screen in its entirety, or you might get a speed and strength power-up, which will allow you to deal with enemies more efficiently. There are 2 difficulty modes in the game, but I found it pretty challenging regardless of which mode you choose. Even though the easy mode is more manageable, the normal mode is actually extremely difficult in this game. Still though, the simplistic premise of this title did have me dipping in for many retries over and over again, so that says something to the quality of the gameplay experience. It's not half bad actually. I felt like the mechanics were responsive enough, they got the job done, and there's also some shops that you'll come across. Yes, you can collect gold coins off of some of the enemies which you've defeated, and these coins can be spent on a variety of different things, including weapon boxes, which will give you access to more weapons of course, as well as skins to unlock for your character. Getting these upgrades, however, does feel like a bit of a grind. I was only able to get a few at a time because they are rather expensive. So it's up to you. Do you want to replay some levels and try to grind out some gold, or do you just want to try to press forward with the limited amount of upgrades that you have? Overall, while I did have my frustrations with this game, including losing sight of certain enemies on screen due to the fact that there can be a lot going on, I was ultimately having a pretty decent time. I will say that some of the boss encounters aren't as fun as doing the waves of enemies, but for the most part they're still pretty satisfying. I did find it a little bit strange, however, that there's no 2-player option in this game. Maybe they just tested it out and it wasn't working well, but it does feel like a little bit of a missed opportunity. Graphically, I quite enjoyed the look of Max and the Book of Chaos. It does have a cartoon style to it that works surprisingly well, and I mentioned those comic book cutscenes. They look great. I could have done with a few more backdrops throughout the game. Like I mentioned, there's not a ton of worlds in this title, but at least they are well drawn and detailed. Some of the bosses look pretty great, and the animations aren't bad on the whole. There is a little bit of a jankiness to them, but for the most part, this is a pretty nice looking cartoony experience. The soundtrack and sound effects get the job done, I would say. The soundtrack's not memorable in any real way. Some of it's a little bit boring, actually, but the sound effects are solid enough. They do match the tone of what an arcade-style game would be. Even though the translation wasn't great, I did enjoy the look of a lot of these characters. Definitely has that cartoon vibe to it. At $7.99, you're getting a pretty solid action arcade shooter here. Nothing exceptional, nothing particularly new or innovative about it, but the game can be pretty fun, to be honest with you. I had a good time trying to get through these levels. The normal difficulty setting is quite challenging. It will keep you busy for a while. Even the easy mode will actually challenge you if you're anything like me. The game features solid mechanics and the cartoon art style is enjoyable enough for me to recommend checking it out at some point. This isn't a game that you have to rush out and buy immediately, but if you see it down the road and you're bored looking for a 2D arcade action shooter, this one actually isn't half bad. So will you be checking out Max in the Book of Chaos? Let us know in the comments below, and if you have enjoyed our video coverage today, consider hitting the subscribe button. It really does help us bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. There's a ton of other ways that you can support I Dream of Indie down in the description box below, including our Discord or our Patreon page. However you end up doing so though, we thank you so much.